Stop replacing raised bed soil. This FPJ test changes everything. If you've been gardening for a while, you've probably heard this advice more times than you can count. That raised bed soil is old. Just replace it. And every time you hear it, it feels wrong. Not just expensive or exhausting, but wrong on a deeper level. Soil doesn't suddenly become useless because it's been used for a few seasons. Most of the time, old raised bed soil isn't dead. It's biologically tired, compacted and poorly fed. Here on Soilpower, the goal has always been to pass correct, practical information that actually works in real gardens, not theory, not trends, and definitely not guesswork. In this article, I want to show you how to bring old raised bed soil back to life without replacing it, using a direct FPJ, fermented plant juice, comparison, made with correct ratios, applied properly, and tested honestly. This isn't about magic brews or miracle fixes. It's about understanding soil biology, respecting proportions, and letting plants and microbes do the work they've been doing for millions of years. Why old raised bed soil stops performing. When a raised bed stops producing like it used to, most gardeners assume nutrients are gone. In reality, nutrients are usually still there. They're just locked up. Over time, repeated planting, shallow watering and salt buildup from inputs reduce microbial diversity. Soil particles collapse into tighter layers, oxygen movement slows, and beneficial organisms lose their food sources. The result is soil that looks fine but behaves poorly. Plants grow slower, leaves lose their deep green color, flowers drop early, and fruit set becomes unreliable. This is not a soil replacement problem, this is a biological reset problem. The mistake many gardeners make is trying to fix a biological issue with more minerals. Compost alone helps structure, but without active microbial stimulation, progress is slow. This is where FPJ becomes powerful when it's done correctly. Why FPJ works when most soil boosts fail. Fermented plant juice is not a fertilizer in the traditional sense. It does not force-feed plants. Instead, it delivers plant-derived enzymes, organic acids, and microbial food that reactivates the soil ecosystem. FPJ speaks the soil's language. When applied to old raised bed soil, FPJ accelerates decomposition of locked organic matter, improves nutrient exchange, and stimulates root signaling. Plants respond not because they're being fed directly, but because their underground environment becomes alive again. However, and this is critical, FPJ only works when the ratios are correct. Too concentrated, and you stress microbes and roots. Too weak, and nothing happens. Most misinformation online comes from skipping this part. Why we're doing a direct FPJ comparison. One of the biggest problems in gardening advice is vague success claims. This worked for me doesn't mean much unless conditions are controlled. That's why this approach uses two different FPJs, made correctly, applied to identical conditions, and compared side by side. The idea is simple. Harvest two different plants, ferment them separately using the same sugar ratio, then apply them to identical plants growing in the same old raised bed soil. The only variable is the FPJ type. Growth, leaf color, vigor, and fruiting tell the story. This is how we stop guessing and start learning. Choosing the right plants for FPJ really matters, since different plants store different growth signals. For this comparison, one FPJ is made from fast-growing leafy material, plants known for aggressive vegetative growth. Think comfrey, pumpkin vines, sweet potato leaves, or young grass tips. These plants are rich in nitrogen-associated compounds and growth enzymes. The second FPJ comes from fruiting or flowering plants. Tomato leaves, bean tops, banana pseudostem, or legume foliage work well here. These plants carry stronger reproductive and mineral balancing signals. Neither is better in general. The real question is, which one performs better in old raised bed soil under the same conditions? Making FPJ correctly really comes down to ratios mattering more than the ingredients themselves. This is where, honestly, most people go wrong, so let's slow down and be precise. FPJ is made using a 1-to-1 ratio by weight, not volume. That means if you harvest 1 kilogram of fresh plant material, you must use 1 kilogram of brown sugar, jaggery, or raw sugar. This ratio is not negotiable. It controls osmotic pressure, fermentation speed, and microbial safety. The plants are harvested in the morning when sap content is highest. They're chopped finely to increase surface area, then weighed. Sugar is added in equal weight and mixed thoroughly until the plant material begins releasing liquid. This mixture is placed loosely in a container, covered with a breathable cloth, and left to ferment in the shade for 5 to 7 days. During this time, the sugar pulls out plant juices while naturally occurring microbes begin controlled fermentation. After fermentation, the liquid is strained and stored in a dark bottle. This process is repeated separately for both plants, so you end up with 2 distinct FPJs, made the same way, with the same ratios. Consistency is everything. Applying FPJ to old raised bed soil the right way is key. FPJ is powerful but only when diluted properly. For old tired raised bed soil, a 1 to 500 dilution works best. That means 1 part FPJ to 500 parts water. In practical terms, that's 10 milliliters of FPJ in 5 liters of water. For a standard raised bed measuring about 4 by 8 feet, you'll need roughly 10 to 15 liters of solution to evenly drench the soil. This translates to about 20 to 30 milliliters of FPJ per bed. The soil should be slightly moist before application. Never apply FPJ to bone-dry soil. Pour slowly at the base of plants, allowing the solution to soak into the root zone. This is not a foliar spray. FPJ works underground. Applications are done once every 7 to 10 days. One bed receives FPJ made from the leafy plant. The other receives FPJ made from the fruiting plant. Everything else, watering, sunlight, plant variety, stays exactly the same. Within the first 2 weeks, you'll notice some subtle changes. Leaves deepen in color, growth becomes more uniform, and honestly, plants start bouncing back from stress a lot faster. By the 3rd or 4th application, the differences between the 2 FPJs become, well, pretty obvious. One might give you thicker stems and quicker leaf expansion. The other could lead to earlier flowering, better fruit retention, or even stronger root systems. These responses aren't random. They actually reflect the biological signals carried by each FPJ. This comparison teaches you something way more valuable than just a recipe. It shows you how plants communicate through soil biology and how you can guide that conversation instead of fighting it. Replacing raised bed soil resets the structure, but, it also throws away years of microbial development. It's expensive, it takes a lot of work, and honestly, it's often just not needed. When you restore soil biology instead, those improvements start to build up over time. Every FPJ application feeds microbes that keep working long after you stop applying it. Organic matter breaks down more efficiently. Nutrients cycle instead of just leaching away. Roots go deeper. Soil becomes, well, a lot more resilient. This is how experienced gardeners build beds that actually get better every year, not worse. At Soilpower, our mission has always been pretty simple. Empower gardeners with accurate, usable knowledge, not shortcuts, not hype, just real information you can test and trust. FPJ is just one tool, but honestly, it's a perfect example of why ratios matter, why comparisons matter, and why soil biology should always come first. When you stop guessing and start measuring, gardening becomes predictable, and honestly, a whole lot more rewarding. Old raised bed soil doesn't need replacing. It just needs understanding, patience, and the right biological push. If this approach changed the way you think about soil, just imagine what consistent, correct information can do over an entire growing season. That's what Soilpower is all about. If you found this article useful, go ahead and share it with another gardener who's ever been told to just replace the soil. And, hey, subscribe to the Soilpower YouTube channel for hands-on experiments, honest comparisons, and real-world gardening results you can use right away. Healthy soil is built, not bought, and together we grow stronger soil one bed at a time.